Welcome back to Eye on the Money, and today we're talking about social entrepreneurship. And with me in studio is Kevin Gikonyo, who is the lead East Africa at Hivos. Now, Kevin, before you left, we're having such a nice, good conversation. I'm actually thoroughly enjoying this.
Yeah,
but we've been going all over the place. Like, you've explained to us what social entrepreneurship is. You've explained to us a lot of things on this topic. And you've mentioned, like, one of the greatest things about social entrepreneurship is even as you go about, your business venture, you're also making an impact. Like, you're touching lives out there. However, away from that, as someone, I'm an entrepreneur at the end of the day still. So what are the other benefits an entrepreneur derives from social entrepreneurship, away from like the obvious touching of lives and making a difference?
I think the other thing I touched on is that you can get very easy capital, because there are people primarily just are there to put capital and finances to a business that has a social element. The other one is the aspect that you're going to get public goodwill. If you have the public goodwill, then of course people will associate more with your brands. And they want to buy more every other time because they have an emotional connection to a certain need that was solved by that particular product or the enterprise itself. Of course, some of these things you get free visibility, free marketing that come along with it. If you can talk about MasterCard Foundation, whatever they are doing with Equity, I mean, when they come to bring the program for Wings to Fly, I mean, it just comes out and they're talking about Wings to Fly, but of course you not fail to mention this other brand. So it flows with it and it comes with it, that there are so many benefits that would be able to be attached to a social entrepreneur. And of course the ethical aspect that you get the satisfaction that we're actually doing a good thing and you're making an impact to the society. So there are so many advantages that come along with being a social entrepreneur.
But Kevin, I have to ask, what's the measure of success for social entrepreneurship, if you know what I mean? Like, because there's so many facets that are involved with social entrepreneurship that might not be necessarily, the same with other businesses. Like, whereas if I'm doing any other ordinary business, I'll look at my numbers, I'll look at my books, and I'll know, hey, I'm doing really, really well. But when we talk about social entrepreneurship, what would you say is the measure for success?
That's a very good question. What I would say is that because primarily you began being an impact-oriented company. So of course you are measured by the impact, the level of impact that you would have done in a society. For example, the program I was talking about, the biogas program, the African biogas program, in itself, as much as it's providing energy to the home people, the homestead, there are less issues to do with what do you call it? ENT related illnesses.
You're trying to say that trachea?
Yes, trachea, yes. I'm trying to remember my biology a bit. But I mean, the health reported cases in the neighboring hospitals, they are reduced. When you look at the cataract, because that affects the eyes, when you're using the normal ordinary wood that will bring smoke to your eyes, you don't have such cases. So those are documented evidences that would appear with time, and they would be able to show that not just you solved this need, but you actually even created a whole benefit, and there are less issues, people are living healthier, there's more income in people's pocket, there's a whole ecosystem that has been created out of it. And when you measure impact in that sense, it's out of how many people have you affected, how many illnesses have you reduced, how many eye conditions have you saved, how many children can be able to succeed in school because you brought light into their house. They can be able to read long hours. You can look at a business like a sanitary pad enterprise that are not necessarily there to make profit. So you get more women going to school every other day of the month. So the grades improve in schools and they do better. Those are the measures that actually come along with being a social enterprise when you look at the impact itself.
So you already told us that social entrepreneurship will earn you favor, at least in the eyes of the investor or whatever angel investor. However, what about when it comes to the aspect of the customer, because that's who is key? Would you say in any way social entrepreneurship can give you a competitive edge over having, just doing the normal entrepreneurship? What would be your take on that and how? If at all?
I don't know. I've not been paid to say some of these things, but
how much? We can just say. Just
but
we'll come
it's
up with a
good-
price tag later.
it's good I use examples that are living rather than the
Right.
public domain.
Okay.
So like the wings to fly.
Okay.
The way I'm
Are you
just
sure you
saying.
haven't been paid
No,
for
no,
that
no.
one?
I've not talked to Mwangi.
It's okay. I'll call them after here. Then I'll know.
Okay.
Right.
So when you have such a program and your daughter or your son has actually been taken through school with such a system in partnership with the MasterCard Foundation, when I go to the market and I'm supposed to open a bank account, and I know this bank actually did this for my child, who I hold very dear to what they did the study. They were taken through school. If I'm choosing between two banks, I'll of course go to the one that made the most impact in my life. And that is just a no-brainer for any human being, that somebody who gives you a helping hand, it's almost obvious that you want to reciprocate. And it would easily come, and if you're given the choice between the two, it's almost a no-brainer, and you will take the one that actually had a direct impact to you vis-a-vis the other one that probably you have to be convinced, marketers have to be sent to you to convince you to actually purchase that product or service. So in itself, I think that's how you can be able to, in overall, be of benefit when you do that element, that extra mile. Corporate social responsibility, as some organizations would say, is very direct element in some of these organizations. Even when they go to boardrooms, they have to put that in their program. Yeah.
Kevin, I have to say thank you very much for coming onto the show. And to be completely honest, I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation because I'm all about humanity.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm always happy when humanity wins. So if you can do a business and at the same time touch a life, I say why not?
Why not?
Thank you very much for coming onto the show. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of this discussion, but before I leave, as usual, I'm going to leave you with a financial tip. Remember, it's a business. You absolutely should be treating your social enterprise like any other business. It's extremely challenging to get the balance right between ensuring you're achieving your social impact and ensuring you make enough revenue, not only to sustain the social enterprise, but to also allow growth. Employ the services of a competent accountant to handle your payroll. This will make life much smoother, and do your best to adapt a reserves policy so that you have a contingency plan for any money problems related to tax or paying off staff. That's where we wrap it up today on Eye on the Money, but you can keep the conversation going on our social media pages at Metropole TV KE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Have a brilliant day, but don't go anywhere because we have so much more amazing programming coming your way. Thanks, Kevin. It was nice.